So, do you want to introduce yourself to the chat?
Sure. I'm EtriusRaven. I'm a real small streamer, but I'm also, more importantly, a film major, which is currently what I'm doing. I'm making a documentary about Twitch, or not even just Twitch, but streaming as a whole. It's just, I only know Twitch streamers. So
Okay.
uh, ultimately, it'll become about Twitch, and just sort of getting everyone's point of view about Twitch. I'm trying to go into Twitch politics, Twitch gaming, just sort of explain it to everybody. But yeah.
Okay. 1 second here. Let me see. You're coming a little quiet. I want to see if I can turn you up a little bit. Okay. I think that should be good. All right.
Okay.
So, where do you want to start?
I'll actually have you do kind of the same thing. If you could introduce yourself with obviously your streaming name versus your real name, sort of a brief history and what sort of streamer you are.
Okay. Well, I go by Gremlo on Twitch. I am a news, politics, and React streamer. I stream Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mondays through Fridays is usually just like news and politics, and on Fridays we try and do some fun stuff. Saturdays we do kind of community nights where we'll play games or watch movies that are kind of like relevant to what we talk about in the day-to-day. And sometimes it's just we'll watch like Spaceballs or something just to have fun. Recently I have been getting into the more networking side of the Twitch politics section. Been doing some debate panels, and every Thursday I do a show called Ministry of Science with a couple other streamers, where we have a bunch of academics. I'm a sociology undergrad, so that's kind of my background. We've got a biology PhD candidate. We have a criminology and sociology professor. We have a philosophy professor, and just a rotating cast of other specialized streamers. Some don't stream, but some are just kind of within the community and are involved with it that way. The idea behind it is to bridge the kind of gap between politics and science and dispel some of the kind of cultural practices that still exist within academia that hold back the field. And yeah, we do that every Thursday at, I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would probably be the best time slot to put it at. I started streaming just over a year ago. I would go to class super early in the morning, and right after class I would immediately go live, talk about whatever politics things was happening. I think I started streaming right after the January 6th insurrection attempted coup thing, and that was like the hot topic for a while. Then I would play like Valheim and go to work at a local internet service provider and just watch Twitch while I was at work. But recently we've started getting involved more with the politics community. I kind of stayed on my own little island for a while, all by my lonesome, and now we're actually starting to talk to other people that are in the space. The idea behind what I do is I am a leftist. I usually don't ascribe communism or socialism or Marxism to any label that I would take on, but leftist is what I would probably ascribe myself to. Anti-capitalist maybe. And what I would like to see happen on my channel, at least, is have a place where people who are leftist and want to be able to talk about these things can come, but also people who are interested in it. And one thing that I find very interesting on this platform is kind of how radicalization works here, because you don't just hang out in one person's chat. It's very rare that you're in one person. There's kind of a pipeline people can take, and there's a couple different directions that they can take, and I would like to see some of those lanes have less traffic I guess I would say. I'd like to see some more people directed into, this side of the kind of political discussions that we have. So yeah, that would be like a kind of general summary of what I do.
Sweet. I forgot to mention something. If there's sort of an awkward pause kind of like that, don't worry about it. I'm doing it on purpose.
Okay.
And so it gives your words more impact when I cut
Okay.
the video. So I just realized that you're like, why is he so quiet?
Oh no, it's all good.
But also, if you realize that you've sort of misspoken, whether that be sort of like stumbling over your words, or it didn't come out the way you wanted it to come out, you can just sort of stop where you are and start the sentence over.
Okay.
But yeah, going back to the interview, the pipeline thing is kind of interesting because I haven't had anyone really that I've interviewed talk about it yet. Can you sort of talk more about those pipelines, sort of from the viewpoint of someone who has no idea what you're talking about?
Sure. So I guess there's a couple different types of ecosystems we have to look at when we talk about pipelines, because there's, at least within the politics section, because politics on Twitch kind of exists in two areas: the politics category and the just chatting category. Normally, people who have kind of a sizable following will just stream in the just chatting section. One reason for that is because it's very saturated, so it's more difficult for bad actors. There are a lot of like people who just do harassment on this platform. A lot of very parasocial people who go looking for people to, try and like trigger in their chat. So larger platform streamers will probably stream in just chatting, and the smaller, like triple digit or double digit viewer streamers will be in the politics section, mostly to try and get more eyeballs on them. The politics section has a big Nazi problem. The way I can explain how my pipeline worked was my first introduction to Twitch politics was actually Destiny. Destiny started off as like a StarCraft streamer and made his way into debating in, I would say probably the 2016, 2017 era. Started debating Nazis and kind of breaking down their arguments, because 2016, we just had Donald Trump elected into office. There's a resurgence of like right-wing fervor across the country, and Twitch was no exception. So he started debating them. I think I saw a YouTube video and ended up going to his channel for some of his live content. Enjoyed how he was able to rhetorically walk people through why their positions on certain things were wrong. Namely like white supremacy, Great Replacement, which is like a conspiracy theory. Some people call it the demographics of destiny, or white genocide. Basically breaking down those arguments and showing why they're ridiculous. And I enjoyed that. From these communities, you'll often see longtime community members who are active in the chat, who will sometimes come on Discord. Maybe they're modded, maybe they're VIP'd. People who have like a presence within the community. I have several people in my chat right now who are that to me. And those people will sometimes begin streaming themselves. Maybe they're live while they're moderating and they're just hanging out with like a splinter group of the community. But eventually they'll start garnering their own following. Someone who is like that is someone who went by the name of Irish Laddie, kind of rebranded as Vosh. They became their own entity, garnered their own following. They're their own person, so they have different positions. So there's where you see a more leftist element of Destiny's worldview and his community kind of go off and become its own creature. Another one who is now like the top political streamer on the platform, Hasanabi, already had his own following off the platform, came onto the platform, was assisted by Destiny to kind of like get into the right circles, and now is, top dog. Everybody wants to, have that level of success within this space. So my pipeline was exactly that. Started watching Destiny, was watching Vosh. This other person came onto the live streaming platform, Hassan. So that's kind of whose community I splinter out of was Hassan's community. There's other streamers. I think you've interacted with Alec Gunter. He's another one, like myself. So that was a radicalization pipeline for me into leftist, because I would say I was probably a lib-left social democrat before I started getting into the more online aspects of politics, because we often say, online politics is irrelevant and it doesn't really have a material impact. Well, that's true and it's not, but that's besides the point. Ways that people do radicalize otherwise would be Destiny's community. There's a mentality of the what's called colloquially the debate bro brain, who are trying to get that clip of you owning someone in a discussion, making them look foolish, making them look stupid. It's a blood sport, a WWE of intellectual pursuits, if you will. So someone can come out of Destiny's community, and because of people that he interacts with, they can go down another pipeline. Maybe they start watching Dylan Burns has a hippy dippy round table that he does every Friday and Sunday, where it's a bunch of other political streamers who get together and group debate something. It's a giant mess. It's incredibly dumb, but people love it because it's blood sport. So someone from Destiny's community could watch him go on hippy dippy, find these other people, go, do a little bit of trolling in the chat, and next thing you know, they're staying in these communities. They're starting to have their biases reinforced through the streamers who already kind of somewhat agree with them, and then it's just further down the pipeline we go. Now, it's not always like hard right, hard left. There's a lot of people who are just reasonable, centrist Andes right in the middle, but the more extremes are what interest me, and how they can take such a rapid journey into one direction. And because a lot of these people are always online, it's either every day, average watch time is like 7 hours on this platform. 7 hours of having your biases reinforced can actually be a detriment to you if you're not exposed to more ways of looking at the world than just the one that your favorite content creator is doing. How was that?
That was great. No, that was awesome. I haven't had anyone sort of talk about the pipelines yet, and you did a wonderful job explaining it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna both backtrack and jump forward a little bit to one of my questions I was gonna save for later, which is earlier you mentioned material goods, and how you can, and how Twitch can affect the physical, right? The ecosphere outside of just streaming. Could you go sort of into that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that people can use their platform to affect material change. One of the easiest ones to think of is charity streams. These exist all across the platforms for various things, and it's no different on political Twitch. We did in January for our 1-year subiversary, we did a 24-hour charity stream for Trans Lifeline. We raised $1,000 for that charity, and that's one way that you actually can affect it. But the other ways is we saw this with Hassan, educating people on the political process by going to Nevada and campaigning for Bernie Sanders. That's one way. Destiny actually got directly involved with I believe it was a mayoral campaign. I could be wrong. So that's one way to activate your kind of audience to engage in some kind of action. There's also a couple channels on Twitch that just cover live events. During 2020, we had a lot of channels. I believe Unicorn Riot was one of them that just was on the ground reporting on Black Lives Matter protests all across the country. They had a multi-stream thing going on where you could, let's check in on Portland. What's going on there? What's going on in, San Antonio? So that's one way that you can not only motivate people to engage in direct action like protesting, but to stay connected to it, because in the time of COVID, there is a kind of ennui that people feel that they want to be involved, they want to make a difference, but everyone's trapped inside. So the best way for us to engage with advocacy or direct action for a lot of people was just to be informed, to, post about it online, hyping up people's channels. Hyping up people's channels was a good way of letting people know what it actually looked like, instead of, what normal people would rely on it to be like mainstream media. Instead of just going to that, you actually get to see different perspectives from independent journalists. James from the Internet is a lefty streamer who is also a journalist, and he did good coverage of 2020 when it was happening. On the flip side, though, there's also people on the right who motivate their communities to engage in their forms of direct action, like trucker convoys. Maybe we do a little, coup at the Capitol on January 6th. That has its presence on this platform as well. It's not just people doing charity. It's also people, agitating for violent action. And one aspect of that is racial agitation that exists on this platform. There was, I believe it was like November of last year, 2021, that what was called C-word gate, where a popular streamer noticed that 2 of his moderators were banned for using the C word, which is saltine, a crispy biscuit, if you will, that is referring to a white person. Now, they were banned under the pretense of racial discrimination. Outside of Twitch, this is a ridiculous conversation. This is not like what you would think people would get banned off of a platform for. But it turned into a giant ordeal, and we were having a conversation about this yesterday with another streamer about how these biases that exist within these communities can reinforce themselves. So instead of looking at the situation and saying, well, yeah, it is making fun of someone for, immutable characteristics, being a white person, instead of saying, we need to tackle racial discrimination across this platform, let's start with the most severe cases. People hate rating black content creators. People hate rating trans content creators. Instead of looking where the problem is, we took this very public, very inflammatory clip of a high-profile streamer, and that became the conversation. And it motivated those on the right to look at leftist content creators who say, it's a ridiculous thing to ban someone for that. This is not a real problem. We need to look at the real problems to say, see, they don't care. They don't care about white people. They actually are as racist as we say they are, just towards the majority demographic population. So the kind of CRT cultural Marxism that exists in the larger body politique on this space becomes very insular for very specific issues like C-word gate.
Thank you. C-word gate was so dumb.
It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I wasn't ready to talk about C-word gate yet. But that leads me to a couple of things.
Okay.
First, let's start with this one. What kind of interactions do you personally get with agitators?
Well, so currently the big news cycle right now is going to be Ukraine, Russia. So over the last week, a lot of the agitation that I get is people coming in and doing just like pro-Russia stuff. Now, any other time, I would be like, okay, go Russia, whatever. It's a country. But during this time, that belies someone's biases, that, shows someone's worldview. It's an immediate kind of peacocking that people do, where they want to show their side. people do this as streamers as well. Talking about the hippy dippy round table earlier, you know whose side is whose based on just their environment, the kind of like cultural artifacts that exist within this space. If you see a American flag in the background, or a "Don't Tread on Me," or a POW flag in the background, you know that's a conservative, because they're signaling to their audience like, this is the space where your, you know, ideas, your biases are going to be confirmed. For leftists, it's a little more complicated because there's a wide array of cultural signifiers. We make the joke, if you see LEDs in the background, if they have LGBT lights, then you know that's a leftist. But it's not always the case, because there's, you know, people all over the place. Some do like USSR, like Marxist-Leninist kind of iconography. Those are like the more hardline people. There are those who just have like this kind of cozy setup. But the kind of harassment that I get outside of right now usually is coming in and saying like, fucking lefty, TOS yourself, communism killed 400 quadrillion people, what about Vuvuzela? Very, very average stuff. It's very rare that you'll have someone who's creative with their trolling, just trying to, usually it's targeted at like an ideology. Because we make fun of the ridiculous elements of politics on all sides, but the most fun to make fun of is like, you know, ridiculous conservatives and like conspiracy theorists, QAnon or stuff like that. So if I'm going to make fun of somebody, I'm probably going to reach out for the most extreme. And it's no different for somebody in chat who comes in, sees like, you know, a Pikachu with a USSR Ushanka, and it's like, fucking communist. Like, okay, good job. You did it.
You caught me.
Yeah, you caught me. Red-handed.
All right, then. I mean, that kind of explained the other question I had, but if I could get you to go a little more into detail.
Yeah.
When it comes to, and correct me if I'm wrong, or you disagree at any point, Twitch is kind of a controversy machine in a lot of aspects, where it's just like on to whatever the next thing is, right? I was wondering about controversies that have nothing to do with you necessarily. Reactigate has to do with you, right? And anything political will obviously directly relate to you, but maybe something like hot tub streaming, how everybody was really up in arms about that for a while, and there's a lot of people who really had nothing personally to do with hot tub streaming that got kind of sucked into it. So I was wondering if you could sort of talk about that.
Yeah, well, Twitch is very much like a I would call it a bullshit factory, because a lot of people want to, because they feel personal about a certain issue, want to make it into an issue that otherwise doesn't matter. Your example of hot tub streaming is a good example, which that echoed across the platform. Twitch is a platform that has had a lot of political history to it without understanding that it is exactly that. Gamergate was gigantic on Twitch, or it was Justin TV back then. 2016, Charlottesville, January 6th, COVID, all of these things happen within this space. So finding one thing that doesn't go across everywhere is kind of hard, because what is hot tub streaming? What are the anti-hot tub streamers against? Well, one, women on the platform. Two, non-gaming on the platform. Three, people spending money on what they view as not correct content. Now, I can make a couple arguments for things that are on the platform that I don't think should be on the platform. I think dudes agitating for like ethno states should probably not be allowed on the platform, but you know, free speech, whatever. The misogyny is interesting though, because the platform manifests parasocial relationships. If you are I don't know who like a big like Call of Duty streamer is, but if you're like a big fan of Call of Duty and you're a long time 18 23 month sub in a Call of Duty streamer's chat and you're active, you kind of have a back and forth, a rapport with the streamer. They recognize your name and you start to build that relationship. Well, that same thing exists for hot tub streamers, political streamers, all of that exists. But people view hot tub streams, because this is a very sexist platform, they view that as women are taking advantage of lonely men. They recognize the alienation that exists on the platform. They recognize the kind of parasocial aspect of the platform. But what they have a problem with is someone, basically, I mean, I would qualify it as sex work. That's cool with me. I love it. But they have a problem with that, because it takes that parasocial relationship just a tiny step further, where it's no longer you're being entertained by gameplay or conversation. It's some booba streamer, having fun, joking around with her chat, but wearing something appealing. It's very, very strange how the kind of parasocial relationship criticism happens. Well, my parasocial relationship is healthy because there's a controller involved. Your parasocial relationship is weird because you're attracted to this person. It's very strange how people kind of rationalize what they're already doing. It's different from what I do, so I feel like it shouldn't exist. It's very insular. It's very I don't know what the word would be. It's very hypocritical, I guess is the best word.
That's really interesting. I've never actually had it put to me that way.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's always just like, go feminism, which I'm all for, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Alec Gunther. It'd be real weird if I wasn't leftist. But yeah, I've never had anyone sort of point out that it's really just a step further from what we already do.
Yeah. Because I mean, like a Call of Duty streamer will, have a rapport with a frequent chatter. They'll joke around. There will be inside jokes, like, deep community memes. But what is really different? Just one has kind of a sexual appeal, maybe. Maybe you're slightly attracted to that person, or just outright attracted to that person, and you want to give money. I had a conversation with a friend before I started streaming who didn't understand why someone would gift subs or bits to somebody. Like, well, you pay for, your Crunchyroll subscription, you pay for Netflix, you find that entertaining. There is no small amount of entertainment that happens on this platform. Even lower rung streamers are probably some of the most entertaining. So if you find, I don't know, let's take the most highlightable example, Amaranth. If you find Amaranth wearing a bird mask, like slamming her head into a Pickle Rick floaty, entertaining, go off, king. Whatever, strudel's your noodle.
Strudel's your noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think subs are actually another interesting part of Twitch, and like gifting money, because I know in my case I have spent far too much money on this platform, because there's that feel good aspect of when you gift someone money and they say your name and they're like, thank you so much. For some reason, it's just get that endorphin rush for a short while.
Yeah, the rush of when your favorite streamer reads out your comment and goes, true. Yeah, it is palpable. Well, I think there's also a conversation to be had about like commodifying social interaction. Within Marxist theory, there's the idea that there will come a point where everything is commodified, meaning that everything is now within the purview of consumerism. Even your interactions between two people. There's some kind of transactional relationship here you get to, get a piece of an interview for your documentary. I get to make a piece of content. There is a transaction happening here. I think it's fine. This is fun. This is an interesting thing to do. But within the chatter and streamer relationship, that is 100% transactional, even on a monetary level. Just someone being in my chat helps my metrics, which helps me, grow. Someone gifting a sub, by the way, chat, you should gift subs, or doing a bit, they get the joy of like seeing me, I don't know, do a dance or push-ups or whatever. There's that little endorphin rush. It's kind of like gambling on a slot machine. Whenever it spins around and does the flashy lights, it makes monkey brain go, yeah, I like that. So there is like a commodification of this interaction, which would, in an ideal society, people would just do this because they enjoy doing it. But we've put a price tag on it. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's mentally taxing. There has to be a reward system for it. Subs, gifties, sponsorships, bits. All of this is now a commodified social interaction. Did I just blow your mind?
Yeah, a little bit. Let's see. I'm also trying to think of where to go from here, right? Because like, this has been a really good interview, at least for me. Besides the fact that for whatever reason my internet keeps cutting out while you're talking, which is real unfortunate.
I mean, if we need to call it, that's cool.
No, I'd like to keep going.
Okay.
Because I still have a couple more things. It's just after such deep conversation about different things so far, it's kind of hard to just be like, so what do you think about streaming?
What do I think about streaming?
Yeah, streaming, and then Twitch as a whole as well.
I really like the concept of Twitch. I like how Twitch has become so integrated with other projects like BTTV, Franker Phase. These are like emotes. I guess sites is the best way of putting it. The chat function is probably the best part of Twitch, because that is what has the most user interaction. So it's fun to spam emotes. It's fun to, when a hype train's going, you're posting a bunch of sussy bakas. Like, that's very fun. I also think that there is going to be a progression of media entertainment that no longer exists on like daytime cable. When I worked for an ISP, we constantly had this conversation of when is cable no longer going to like be a thing? Eventually, everybody's going to have high-speed internet. Fingers crossed. There's a whole other conversation I can have about ISP rights and data freedom. But eventually, cable's no longer going to be a thing. People are going to get all of their media and like entertainment consumption online. Right now, we're seeing, especially after the pandemic, well, I guess still during, it's the endless scroll through Netflix and your favorite streaming platforms where you've seen everything. Well, no two live streams are ever exactly the same. There's always going to be different vibes going in. People are doing different stuff. I think live streaming is going to become more and more present within the media space, and Twitch is kind of untapped ground. It's not as secret as it used to be, with more and more celebrities and larger entities coming onto the platform. We're gonna see it change. It's just, how is it going to change? And I mean, it's owned by Amazon, so we're probably gonna start seeing, bigger and bigger projects move onto the platform. But also we see people leaving it because streamers who have been on the platform for a long time are starting to recognize where things are going, starting to see that big content creators are not as well rewarded for their work on the platform. Some people disagree. Some people say, well, you sit in chair all day and play games, so are you really asking for, for more? It feels like you've got a really sweet gig. And to a point, they're right. We do have a really good gig on Twitch. Well, the higher echelons do. Lower rungs, there definitely needs to be a conversation about discoverability. I believe Casey Tron made a big thread on Twitter yesterday about it. Long time Twitch streamer, about how particularly like marginalized groups, women, people of color, trans creators, LGBT creators of all kinds don't have a lot of good discoverability. They're kind of always in the lower rungs, and cis-het white men and a select few marginalized people are kind of lifted up on the platform. So there's a lot that needs to be done on Twitch to make it, 1, more inclusive, 2, a better user experience, and 3, better on the labor side for streamers. But Twitch also has a very interesting ecosystem in how, through raiding and community crossover, people who otherwise never interact with one another, either over voice, text, can be aware of like what's going on in these other little biomes of the ecosystem. Is very interesting. And your documentary is actually something I've been, hoping someone is working on for a long time, because there's as a sociologist, an interesting sociological analysis that can be made of how relationships and commodity production are done on a platform like Twitch.
Then I guess, would you like to go a little bit more into the, I know it's almost been a somewhat of a focus at this point, but like, because I think there's still areas that between you and I, we haven't explored yet, like the relationship between chat and the streamer, as well as like, I think a big one is like Discord and Twitch. There's a connection there. So if you want to go into those a little bit more.
Yeah, the Discord stuff is hard for me because I really only stay in mine. I rarely go into other people's Discords. I find it kind of exhausting to be typing away, either arguing or memeing away on somebody's Discord. It's just hard for me to bounce back and forth. But I am aware of how the kind of like I said, the ecosystem and the smaller biomes within it kind of interact with one another. The streamer and chatter dynamic is interesting. We talked earlier about like parasocial relationships. Some aspects of this relationship are hard to manage because you want people to stick around. You want them to feel like they're part of, a larger community, but you don't want people to be too familiar. You don't want people to start like, hey, your hairline looks like it's starting to, go back a little bit. Hey, did you eat today? You look tired. Hey, maybe you need to drink coffee. You look like shit. Like these kinds of things where people start like trying to manage your life. And in a way, chat is kind of like your boss whenever you're getting paid by chatters, whenever they're subscribed. They're kind of paying you. And in a way, you want to make sure that you're giving your audience, what they want, while not letting the audience control you. It's a very difficult balance. We had a bit of something within our community like that yesterday. I don't know from the chatter side kind of what that's like. I mean, I'm a long time sub in another streamers community.
The American people are tired of women.
I don't think I've ever demanded anything of a streamer. So I don't know if it's just this is some people's only way of interacting with the outside world. There's a big conversation being had in some circles about responsibility of streamers being aware of people who this is the case for them, where this is their only social interaction, either through disability or work-life balance. Like this is their only social interaction that they get. They're constantly working, and this is like it for them. And being sensitive to that. I had a talk yesterday with Homozygote about humanizing both of these elements. To some chatters, streamer is just person in box, and when type in chat, streamer do something. And that's obviously unhealthy. there's a person behind that screen. It also kind of goes for the streamer as well. Behind that, colorful name and text on the screen, that's a person that just typed that most of the time. A lot of bots. But that is a person who deliberately typed that out. And being sensitive to what they're going through, especially if they're like community members who have been here for a while, that's very difficult. Because social cues within text are notoriously hard to read. And sometimes it actually takes bringing someone onto voice chat to read what's going on. So it's a difficult balance. Everyone has to figure it out in their own way. Some streamers take the entire like hands-off approach. Like, you're just a chatter, you're gonna come and go just like every other chatter, which there's some merit to being distant, but I don't think that that's probably the best way. And some people get way too involved, where they're having to, go into Discord, make a bunch of calls to other people to make sure that things are working this way. There's like a way too hands-on approach. So, yeah, I think balance is probably the best word.
Okay. You can say no for this, obviously. Just earlier, you mentioned you had some sort of interaction in your chat. Could you sort of talk about that for a second? Obviously, you don't need to say names or anything like that.
So, a very quick TLDR is I'm a smaller content creator, and whenever we have like someone raid in with a community who's like probably not familiar with what we do here, there is a standard I like to have of people who, since they are new here, we don't want them to feel unwelcome. And again, sometimes longtime community members get comfortable and feel like they can dictate, what the vibes are. And when another streamer was in our chat and they brought up a contentious point, which I felt okay talking about because they were talking about it from their personal experiences. And I think that, again, we can't discount people's experiences. Let's talk about it. I don't feel like this is coming from a place of animosity, maybe ignorance, but, we can have that conversation at least. And some people didn't like that. So we had to let some people go from, our community. If they didn't feel like it was safe, if they didn't feel like it was a conversation or a vibe that they wanted to be around, that's okay. They always have a spot here, but ultimately we're going to have difficult conversations and it's going to make some people uncomfortable. So that's really all it is.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that a time or two. Luckily, I haven't been put in that position yet, but that's the joy of being a gaming streamer, is it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. I can only imagine that the most contentious conversations are whether or not you should farm or just go into the boss. I
wish. Because I'm friends with so many lefty streamers like Alec Gunter, Seductive Seaweed, Sense for Rules, the list goes on and on. I'll have people who know me from them come over and start immediately talking politics when I'm in the middle of something like Bloodborne. I'm like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
Playing video games here.
Yeah.
Let's
when chat's having a
talk
whole
about
other conversation, it's so frustrating because like you want to talk about this thing and they're just talking about something else. Like I have a lot of F1 racing fans in my chat. We have a lot of international chatters because I stream in the mornings. And when they're having F1 conversations, I was okay. I guess I'm just here. Don't worry about me, guys.
You guys keep having your conversation. I'll just be here flapping my keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess one aspect I haven't had anyone talk about yet is banning. Can you go over like just some simple guidelines for how you ban people, like when you decide to take that step, and even what banning is?
Okay, so there's kind of two approaches that a streamer can take, I think. You can either time people out and just keep them in your community, and they'll unfollow if they want, or you can just straight up ban people. If someone is new to streaming, I think thinking about the kind of atmosphere you want to create within your stream is very important, and then setting your rules around that. So let's say, you know, you want this to be a comfortable space for marginalized people, okay? Obviously, no bigotry, no misogyny, no harassment. Those are easy. Finding when someone is being good faith, being ignorant, or just shitting in chat trying to troll, that's the hard part. If someone's been in your space for a while, then you should be able to get a good read of them. So, for example, on my screen right now, I have Mitch here. He's a mod. He basically can do no wrong. He's never given me an issue. So learning who is in your space, that's probably going to be the first step. When someone comes in, like I have a pretty hardline rule for chuds, conservatives, sorry. If you come in and you're going to simp for capitalism, if you're going to simp for like the military, one, you're gonna have to like bring a lot of data to back up your points on the military. But if you're coming in for capitalism, I need to see a deed to a factory. You say you're a capitalist, but you have no capital. If someone's just coming in to try and argue with me, we'll keep them as a pet for a little bit, but then we'll either time them out or ban them. It just depends on if it seems like someone is coming in good faith. If someone's not like asking questions, saying like, oh, well, how are people going to, you know, who's going to clean the toilets if there's no manager and everybody's, you know, working democratically? Like, well, somebody's got to. That job still exists, not making it rewarding, you know, making sure they're compensated well. If someone's not trying to start a conversation like that, usually you can tell and just ban and move on. There's no sense in keeping people in your community that are just going to, you know, make it difficult for you. That being said, there are some people that you're going to want to keep around because chat interacts with them, you interact with them. They may not be the ideal chatter, but there always is a timeout button. You don't have to get rid of them. You can just put them on mute for 5, 10, 30 minutes, an hour, a day, a week. You know, if you don't feel like dealing with them, you know, come back tomorrow. So I think learning your chat, setting a consistent tone, and being at least charitable, that maybe they're coming in and they don't know what the vibes are. Maybe if we just explain it to them and then offer them a seat, then maybe they'll chill out. But like I said, it's the politics section. Not everybody is coming in here, you know, just to have a good time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and switch gears here just
Okay.
for a little bit. And so you've I guess before I go into what I was gonna ask, what has your growth been like on the channel? Like, how have you grown? Because you seem to be doing fairly well for yourself. I know Alec complimented you on like you get a good amount of average streamers every stream, which just seems to be hard to do. So if you could talk about that for a little bit.
Okay, so when I first started, I mentioned this earlier that I just was kind of alone on an island. I first started streaming in the politics section, and I noticed first starting out, when it's 2-3 people watching your streams steadily, I actually used to turn on my wife's computer and bring up my stream to make it look like I would have more numbers than I really did. I thought that one extra was going to be the difference. That was my measurement of success. The day I don't have to do that anymore, I'm actually like, you know, doing something. But as far as growth, I was under 200 followers for close to a year, because I started in the politics section, saw all the Nazis coming in to harass me, and was like, forget this place. This sucks. I'm gonna go into just chatting, and you know, I'll grow when I grow. It was only until I went on Hippy Dippy Recruitment, was able to interact with some other streamers, get a few clips out of that, get a little community crossover, did we start to slowly build up. And probably early this year, I think in January, I said, let's see what happens whenever we stream in politics. Let's just see what happens, and if we don't see any results, then we'll just go right back to the just chatting section. In 3 months, I've seen a 418% increase. We're averaging anywhere between 15 to 30 new followers a day. It makes no sense to me how it worked, but it did. And we're probably going to hit 1K on the channel before the end of the month.
Jesus, I'm just seething in jealousy. No,
I don't know. I've also come to the conclusion that if I'm going to game, I need to do it on a separate channel, because when I'm not streaming in my regular hours and when I'm not doing my regular content, only the real ones like Latvian and Mitch and a few other people, Tony, show up to root me on while I suck at video games. But aside from streaming in politics, like interacting with other streamers, when someone's in chat and they say that they stream, shout them out, give them a follow, go into their Discord, post whenever you're live. And that, I think, coupled with switching gears into a different category, has led to a lot of growth in the last 3 months.
Oh, so you have done more than just politics and just chatting as of recently? When you say switching into a new category, I mean.
So going from just chatting to politics is the different category.
Gotcha, my misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Then would you, I guess would you recommend then sort of staying to just what you know, or would you recommend branching out?
I think if you're going to kind of be a variety streamer, that probably scheduling the content is best. Instead of just feeling out how the stream is going, if you're a just chatting streamer and you're just talking about whatever, painting nails, it doesn't matter, and then you feel like playing some, I don't know, Elden Ring, chances are that if you have a consistent, sizable audience and you're just chatting, that maybe a third of them are going to stick around for gaming, unless they're there for you, unless you are the product and not like talking about news or gaming skills. If you are the product, you probably are able to transition a little easier. If you're going to do that, I think you might have a bigger issue with continuing to bring your numbers in, going from like just chatting to gaming. If you want to do like Wednesdays is, that's WoW Wednesdays. That's when we go play World of Warcraft and, we raid. That's probably the better way to do it. But being a politics streamer, there's always something going on. Sometimes there's lulls in the news, but there's usually always something going on that we can talk about. So that kind of consistency in what we do, saying that I'm consistent is pretty crazy, is I think what makes it harder to get people watching gaming content.
Okay. And then I guess this will be my last question, because my internet is going downhill very quickly again. It stabilized for about 20 to 30 minutes. I was like, finally. And now it's starting to like crash again.
Yeah.
So I guess for anyone who has an interest in streaming, what recommendations would you have? Or if you had like steadfast rules to streaming, what would they be?
First mistake I think a lot of people make is just starting streaming. If you take that route, chances of you having steady growth are very, very low. I think if you're interested in gaming content, you're interested in doing commentary, or I don't know, reviewing technology, building stuff, try and build an audience outside of the platform first. TikTok is great right now. YouTube and YouTube Shorts is a good place to start also. Instagram, Twitter. Post on those a lot. Get at least triple digit following on that first, and then start doing streaming content so that you can market your other stuff, and then on your other stuff you can market the live streaming content, because just streaming, incredibly difficult. That was a mistake I made when I first started doing this, and I'm just gonna have to live with that, because the growth I could have had, I just missed out on. So I'm like trying to recuperate that now with posting daily on other platforms. And I guess so don't sweat your setup at first. Like, don't worry about having a beautiful background and stuff. The most important thing for you to have is 1, a computer that can stream, 2, a decent microphone, 3, audio mixing software so that you don't sound like you're talking into a coffee mug, and if you can, a decent webcam, unless you want to go without a webcam, which is fine. Those are like obviously the 3 things that you need. And a stream deck. One of these little guys. Get one of these. It's a game changer.
Is it bad that I don't have one of those?
Yeah, you gotta get one. I got it for Christmas from my wife, and it is just, it's amazing.
What is a stream deck?
What is it? So it's
totally gonna reveal how much of a noob I am.
No. It's all good. Basically, you can just tie it to your stream software, and you can do a bunch of different stuff with it. You can change between scenes. You can run ads. You can, control your chat from there. You can post links. I have a bunch of personally curated ads that I run at the top of the hour, so I'll just like hit that so that if I need to go to the bathroom during ad break, my chat who's subscribed, who doesn't get to watch ads, they get to have like something there. You can also play like sound and stuff. One cool thing that I want to do eventually with it is if you have Wi-Fi enabled wall outlets to plug stuff in, you can sync it up with the Stream Deck and like turn on all your lights and stuff with the Stream Deck.
My God, this sounds like a miracle product.
It's pretty cool.
That sounds so nice. How much did it cost, if you don't mind me asking?
I think the one that she got me is like $150, and then there's like bigger versions with more buttons on it.
I might have to consider getting one for myself.
Yeah, really good.
All right, well, thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Thank you.
This was really good. This was probably one of my favorite interviews so far.
Oh,
so
shit, thank you. It's so nice.
All right, well, I will let you get back to streaming, and I'll probably be in your chat for a little while.
Hell yeah. We were looking at why Louisiana is a terrible place to live.
Yeah, I watched like about 10 minutes while I was taking care of some other stuff while you guys were doing it. So
yeah.
But all right, well, you take care now.
Yeah, you too. Oh, do you want to shout out your channel to my chat before we go?
Yeah, I can do that. Again, EtriusRaven, EtriusRaven, capital RAVEN. And I just do variety gaming. I haven't been streaming a whole lot lately because instead I've been interviewing people and trying to get this project done, though it's looking like it's not going to be anytime soon. So don't hold your breath on that. But yeah, and thanks so much for letting me shout myself out. I always appreciate it when streamers do.
Yeah, not a problem. Chat, go follow. It's in the chat right now. Yeah, if ever you like want to come on and chat about anything, just hit me up.
All right. Well,
All right.
thank
You have a
very
good one.
much. You too. Bye.